Hello guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be featuring a new game that I just got yesterday called Assault Android Cactus. Now this is a dual stick shooter that sells for $14.99 in the PlayStation Store plus tax. And it's a really great game. I've been having a lot of fun with it. Got it yesterday afternoon, and right when I got it, I couldn't stop playing it. And I got pretty far in the game, and I played a little more today. And this game is so much fun that I just had to feature it. It's a great game. I don't want to give too much away, but it's basically about a space patrol police officer who basically has to save this cargo ship, which is under attack from its own robots that used to work on it. And as you can see, there's going to be a lot of action ahead. So you play as the main character here, and that's Cactus. She's the main character. And that's the reason why it's called Assault Android Cactus, because she's the one who's actually trying to save this ship and the other robotic people, because it seems like everyone in this game is robots. And she's trying to save them from these other robot bosses, which are controlling these hordes of enemy robots that we have to blast through, and we have to try to get to the actual control, like the brain control of the ship, and reprogram it to shut everything down. So we're trying to battle our way through different areas of the ship in order to get to the computer's main brain, main hub, and shut it down to stop all the enemy hordes. Now, this is not an online game. It is only couch co-op, but it does have a few cool modes to it. It has Infinity Drive and Daily Drive, but we're going to do Campaign for now because there's a lot to go through with this. So this is Cactus. She's the character who you will start with, and she is the space police officer robot who is trying to save the others that is on this cargo ship. And then we have Holly. Now, she's a character that you get right away off the bat. She's one of the ones that is a survivor on the ship that we're trying to rescue. So she's joining us in the adventure. Then we have Lemon, which you have to unlock. You will slowly unlock these other characters later on. We have Coral. We have Starch. We have Abergine. I'm not exactly sure how to say his name. We have Shiitake, Peanut, and we're back to Cactus. There are other characters that you can unlock. I haven't unlocked them all yet. But as you can see at the bottom, it tells you what type of gun that they use. Like, she uses an assault rifle. It's constantly rapid fire. And for her super move, she uses a flamethrower, or her secondary weapon. So as you can see, Holly has a seeker gun, so her bullets will seek out enemies, and she has a cannonball as her secondary, or her super move. You only want to use your secondary weapon on really big bosses, like the more dangerous bosses. You want to save them for, because you can't rapid fire it, you can't spam it. It's only meant for really tough situations. So I'm just letting you look at the bottom here and you get an idea of what their firing is like, their different guns, and how they fire. And now, in my personal experience of playing this, there are more characters to be unlocked, but from my experience, I would say the very best character to clear hordes, this is my little tip from what I've learned in just 2 days of playing the game. This character here, Holly, because of her gun that has tracking ammunition, she's the best for clearing out the hordes. So my little tip is use her to clear out all the hordes of the different areas of the ship, and then when you get to a boss, she can do rather well, but she's not the best for defeating bosses. I would say the best character for defeating bosses is definitely Coral. Coral is definitely the best. He is definitely the boss killer of the game. He goes through the bosses very, very well because his shotgun is very strong, and he also has a plasma field which he can set in front of himself, and it constantly damages enemies. So I would say my tip is use Coral to clear the waves and to get you to the boss, and then if you can't defeat the final boss with Holly, then the best thing to do is to use Coral. And that's just my little tip. For other players, you know, different characters may meet your play style a little differently. You might have better luck with them, but this has just been my experience with these characters as to who is the best for clearing the hordes and who is the best for fighting the bosses. But for you, it may be different. You might like the play style of another character better, and they suit you just fine. So now I'm going to show you some gameplay, starting with Cactus, our main character.
Yeah.
And now I have played through the ship, but so you can go back and repeat stages if you would like to grind or if you would like to better your score, because your score is compared globally. This pad here will take you to the other map as you keep going through the ship. So as you keep traveling the map, you can use your D-pad or you can use your joystick. You will see boss stages here. And you have to unlock all of these. All of these are not just naturally unlocked. You will have to go through each one by one in these stages to unlock the next. So since I've played, I already have them unlocked. But I'm going to go back to the first map, the first area of the ship. There is a tutorial here that you can do. So I'm going to go in here, and this is the first level. So you use your left joystick to move, of course, and you use your right one to aim, and you will have to press your right trigger in order to fire. Now, I thought this was a dual stick shooter that was only going to require you to use the joysticks, but I was wrong. You do have to press and hold the right trigger in order to get them to constantly fire. So you can just press and hold it. And then to use your secondary attack, you want to use L1, so your left shoulder button. And this is their secondary, like, super special attack. It only lasts for a short time. And again, you really don't want to use them on the little guys, like the minions that swarm you a lot, because most of the time they can simply be taken out by just your main gunfire. You really want to save that for bigger enemies, which I'll show you when they show up. Now, what's really unique about this dual stick shooter is that unlike most where you have to really worry about being hit, because if you get hit too many times, you lose. What's really interesting about this one is that this plays differently. You can get hit repeated times, but if you get hit too many times, you will drop for a matter of a few seconds, and then you either have to tap your right trigger, or you can tap your X button. On PlayStation, I find it better to tap the X button, and you will be able to rise yourself. And you'll notice that I'm picking up these green batteries, and you'll notice the green battery at the top of the screen. There's one of the larger enemies, so I'm going to use my secondary special move on him. You see how quickly it took him out.
All clear.
And then you'll get your rating right here. You'll get that compared to other players globally. Now, there's a lot to cover, so I'm might be a little chopped up here and there because I'm trying to tell as much about it as possible. But as I was saying about the battery at the top there, is that will slowly drain. And basically, that is your life bar. These robots basically rely on... Now, when I say robots, I don't mean the enemies, obviously. I mean the characters that you play as. They rely on that battery as their life, and the more enemies that you destroy as quick as possible... Now I just got knocked, so I will press X, keep pressing that, and you'll see how I raise up.
Battery here.
And see how if you destroy enemies, the battery will drop? You want to keep collecting that. And that's the thing, you can be dropped multiple times throughout a stage and you will not die. That's the unique thing about this game from, that really separates it from other dual stick shooters. Is that you will not die by being knocked as long as you can keep getting up fast enough and destroying enough enemies to keep recharging that battery. So every time you pick up a battery that an enemy drops, you will replenish the battery at the top and you will be able to keep going. Your energy will not drain. So you have to keep getting them as quickly as possible to keep that battery at the top up as high as possible with energy, because if it fully drains, then your character will run out of energy and you will have to restart from the beginning. of the stage.
Firepower.
Now you will notice the power-ups that I'm picking up. Red is for your firepower, so when you get red power-ups, that will increase your firepower. It will make your firepower stronger. You will notice blue ones. If I get the blue ones, it will freeze all your enemies on the screen that are currently there. If enemies do jump on the screen after you have got it, they will not be affected by it. You'll see that they will keep moving. But any enemies that are on the screen at the moment that you get the blue orb will become frozen for a certain amount of time, which is shut down, which I just got there.
All clear.
And when you get yellow, when you get the yellow orb, you'll notice these yellow wings appear on their backs. And what that does is that increases their speed. That makes the move a lot faster. And again, these are only for limited periods of times for these power-ups. But random enemies will drop them at times. You never know when a certain one is going to drop. So it's also a matter of luck as to what drops at certain times. Sometimes I see that the game will push your luck of trying to... They will let your battery run down quite a bit before they will have an enemy that will drop a battery. And that's really to test your shooting skills for you to destroy as many enemies as possible to get the battery. So they're really testing your aiming and your shooting abilities when they do that. When they really push your battery to going low before they give you another one.
Battery over here.
So you see her flamethrower. I really like that a lot. Now again, you don't have to really use your secondary against these enemy hordes here. They're just regular minions and they go down pretty easily just by shooting them with your main weapon. I would save your secondary for the tougher bosses, like the bigger guys that come onto the screen, like this guy here. Although he dropped before I was able to get close enough.
Battery up.
Like these guys here. That's when you can use your secondary and it'll really help take them down quicker. Now what's really cool about this game is that the bosses will interact with each and every character differently in the way they talk to them. They all have different lines they use for each character, which is really unique. It goes to show that they really put an extra touch in this game. Because all of the bosses, you will have to fight them obviously, but how they interact with all the characters is somewhat different to what they'll say to them.
Accelerate.
Some of them are more regretful about the fight, while others are just like very intent on trying to destroy you, depending on who you are.
Firepower.
So as you can see, if you already have increased firepower and you pick up another,
All clear.
you'll get these floating assisting robots here on each side of you, and they will help you fire. Now if you get a blue, and then you pick up another one, that'll extend the time that they're frozen, and if you get yellow, it will keep you moving faster longer, for a longer period of time. So I'll complete this stage and then I will show you more gameplay with more of the characters, because I really want to go through more of the characters and give you an idea of how they play. But here's Shutdown. You can see how the characters stopped moving, but that one came up after, and how he was unfazed by the effect. And they will only stay frozen for so long before they will start moving again.
Firepower. Battery up.
So again, to raise yourself, you can keep pressing your right trigger button, although I find it a lot faster to keep pressing X. That's what I press to raise myself. I just find it to be a bit quicker, which in a game like this, the timing is very crucial.
Battery here.
Now again, I'm not playing at my very best because I am talking and trying to explain as much as possible while playing. If I was really like playing super serious, I would be as quiet as can be and I would be like totally focused on what I'm doing. But there's so much great things about this game that I definitely don't want to forget to include, so if I do terribly in my shooting, please forgive me. It's because I'm trying to explain things as well as play. I'm not really focusing and concentrating as much as I normally would.
Accelerate. Shut down. Battery over here. Weapon max.
So all the enemies are quite challenging. Each enemy definitely you see a difficulty increase. It's not like some games where you approach another enemy a second and third and they really don't seem much more powerful than the last one. No, in this game you will definitely notice an increase in the power of the enemies, and the techniques they will use to try to defeat you become much more complicated in trying to track their patterns and stuff. And they will have several different modes in which they will attack you before they are finished. So if you defeat them, like for example, I'll play this. I'll show you. This is the first boss that you encounter, and I'll show you by what I mean when it comes to they will have different ways of attacking you. It's usually 3 different ways that they will attack you in the fight before they're fully defeated. And the way he's interacting with her, like what she's saying to him and what he's saying to her, it varies depending on what character you play as, which is really cool. So every character will have different lines that they're saying to the bosses and how the bosses interact with them. Well, that was fast. Okay. Now you really want to use your secondary as much as possible on the bosses, because that's what's going to deal the most damage. So you want to give it a few seconds for it to charge, and that's all it really needs is just a few seconds. And you definitely want to pick up power-ups as much as possible, but you want to stay on your enemies as much as possible, at least with Cactus, because her secondary and what I call their super moves is very close range, so you definitely want to stay closer with her. Where some you could keep more of a distance.
Shut down.
Now see how he was knocked down? Now he's going to start attacking a different way. So each time the way they attack will start being a little bit different. And a better way to increase your score is to try not to get knocked as much as possible, which I'm doing a terrible job of at the moment. Now you'll notice the little white coins that fall out. Those coins can be, the more you collect, they can be redeemed and they can be used to buy various different things in the shop, which I will show you a little bit later. But you can actually use those as currency in the game to use in the store to buy various different things. However, I think every time you get knocked down, you get points deducted, and I think maybe the currency is also knocked down as well, I should say. I'm trying not to die here. I really got to knock him down. Alright, got him. Barely. And he was just the first boss. You see how tough he can be? That's just the first one. It does get a lot worse.
All clear.
Now, I really love the music in this game, and the animation is great. It plays really smooth. The controls are very responsive. It's a really great game. You can tell that the creators really put a lot of work into this, and I love games like that. So this is now the second part of the ship. So all the stages will be very similar here. This is the second part, so when we back out of this, you will see it on the map that we're now on the second part. So now I'm going to back out of this. I'm going to go to the Android Select. And I'm going to use Holly. Now again, she's the best because of her Seeker ammunition, which seeks out enemies and destroys them. She's really the best for clearing out waves. So if you want to earn points and money as quick as possible and be able to grind to get the money to get like the other power-ups and the other things in the store, she's a very good character. The very best one that you could grind with. At least in my opinion, she's the best one. So now I'm going to show you some gameplay with her. So now you can see we are on the next part of the ship here, because if we go back on this pad, you'll see we're back where we were here. Now you can repeat the boss battles. So I'm going to go, this is where we were before I went to the character selection again. So you will see that I won't have to aim so much with her. You will see that her ammunition pretty much seeks out enemies and destroys it all on their own. Her power-up is she shoots out this cannonball right here. And whatever it hits, it can actually take out several enemies. It doesn't just hit one and then go out. It actually can take out several very large enemies at one time, because it actually doesn't stop until it hits a wall. So whatever enemies are in front of you, it's good if you gain as many as possible to lure them in front of you and then fire your cannonball. It will take out as many of them are in front of you until it hits the wall, and then it goes out. But this you do have to aim. With the cannonball, you do have to aim where you fire it. It does not track enemies like her gun does. So you have to definitely aim with that. But you see how much quicker I'm actually taking out the hordes of enemies here. And she's even more OP when she gets the power-ups like this.
Battery up. This is incredible.
I can assure you, if I was using any other character, I would not be taking those enemies out that quickly and that easily. That is all because of her Seeker ammunition, which really makes her a very OP character and a great character, again, to grind with, to gain money.
Unbelievable. Shut down. Battery here.
This game is absolutely amazing, though. I love it. This has definitely become one of my top 5 favorite games already, and I've only had it for 2 days, and I absolutely love this game. I can see myself playing this years to come, definitely. Replaying it over and over again to better my scores, to better my aiming, and dual stick shooters in general. It really is just an amazing game. I can really tell that the creators did an awesome job with this. They really put a lot of work into it. And it is definitely my favorite dual stick shooter that I own now, replacing Demon's Crystals, which was another dual stick shooter that I featured. So this has actually replaced Demon's Crystals as my new favorite dual stick shooter. It's very easy to get a very high score with her. You can get scores as low as F's and C's, but with her you usually will get at least a B or an A. At one time I actually did get an S, which is I guess super, like a super ranking. And I actually did get an S with her at one time, which I probably could now if I was really like concentrating, but I'm not playing so much to try to win right now as I'm just trying to demonstrate each character.
Battery over here.
To give you an idea of how they play. So I'm not going out of my way to really play my best. I'm just playing for fun right now. But with this character, it's very easy to look good in the game. She will make anybody who's new to the game look good, like they're pro at it, because again, she has that really OP gun. And then the power-ups just make her even more OP. So she's a very overpowered character when it comes to taking out the hordes of enemies.
here. Firepower. Lost the battery.
Oh, I didn't realize there was a battery that was available. I didn't see it.
Shut down.
Batteries will be around for only a temporary period of time. So it's very important that when a battery drops that you look for it and you get it as quickly as possible.
Battery up.
And you definitely want to keep from getting knocked as much as possible because that will also drain time.
Shut down.
So the better your aiming skills, the better, definitely.
Battery here. I need energy.
And see, that was not a good time for me to get knocked, and that's what happens if your battery is totally depleted. So it's actually a good thing that happened, because it'll show you what happens if you have the battery at the top, which is your energy bar, completely just depletes. Then you have to replay the level. So you can retry, you can go to stage select, or you can go to Android select, which is what we are going to do. So next up, we're going to do Lemon.
Yes.
She has a spread shot, so her firing kind of goes in multiple directions, almost like a shotgun, but with distance. And she has rockets as her secondary, which is really good. So she is a very solid character as well. But your aiming has to be more on point with her, obviously, because she doesn't have the tracking ammunition that Holly has. But Lemon, if you're really good at aiming in general, Lemon is a very solid character. So I highly recommend her for people who are new to the game as well, because she is a really solid character. You just have to have your aiming more on point than with Holly.
Firepower. Battery up.
This game is actually very loud as well, which is a lot of times why with these games I feel like I can't hear myself think, because they are very loud. I actually have the volume of this one turned down somewhat as well,
Battery here.
and yet it's still coming through my headphones pretty loud. But if I turned it down any lower, it would have turned the volume completely off of the sound effects and the music, which I did not want to do, so I left it up a bit.
Battery up.
But what I have found in a lot of games anymore is that they can be very loud, like deafening loud. And that's why a lot of times while I'm playing and talking to you guys at the same time, it can be a challenge, because sometimes it's quite loud. And I have a lot of like loud booms and explosions going off in my ear. So these games are quite loud.
Accelerate extended.
Not to mention my throat is a little on the dry side. I'm going to take a sip of water before I start the next match.
Battery up.
You see how our rockets just shred through the bigger enemies. So I like the fact that they include so many characters. I believe there's 9 total. So there's 9 different characters. All of them play slightly different from one another. So you just got to find the character that best suits your play style, that you like their way of their ammunition and their secondary. And once you find the character that's perfect for you, you'll go through the game pretty easily. I mean, don't get me wrong, the bosses are very challenging. The hordes are not so bad, as long as, again, you can keep the batteries charged. The hordes are not too bad, but the bosses, that's a different story. They are pretty tough, and you will have to refight them several times, because a lot of times they will finish you in the first fight, because they are pretty tough. So while you may be mowing down the enemies, like the enemy hordes, pretty easily once you find that character that's best suited for you, you'll think, oh, I'll go through the final stage boss so easy. It'll be, you know, like it's nothing. Well, I can assure you that's not going to be the case. The bosses are very tough, very powerful, and again, with each boss, you will notice that they will keep getting increasingly tougher. You will definitely notice the difference.
Battery over here.
Definitely want to stay away from these mines. They're an insta-kill, and they will just drop from the sky at random. So you got to try to avoid them as much as possible.
Shut down. Accelerate. Battery here.
Now, as you can see, the battery and various different items will come to you. They are attracted to you, like, magnetically. And they will come to you, and they will drag. So sometimes you got to make sure that you stop, especially if you have the wings, in order to get them, because there have been a few times that I had a battery that an enemy released. And because I kept moving too fast, the battery was not able to get to me in time, and I ended up losing because I didn't slow down enough to get the battery. So definitely got to watch your speed sometimes to make sure that you pick up the items when they are released, because they are drawn to you, but sometimes you will have to slow down in order to pick them up. See how it came to me? But if I kept going at top speed, the battery would not have been able to get to me. And if you're really low on energy, then that's not going to work out well. It's not going to get to you on time.
Battery here. I need battery.
And my energy drained. But that's okay, because again, that gives me the chance to show you guys another android. And now we have Coral. Now, Coral, again, like I said, is definitely great when it comes to defeating bosses. My experience with him is that he absolutely demolishes the bosses very well. Now, that doesn't mean you won't get knocked from time to time, but he usually can go through a boss without fully dying and having to repeat the level. So he's definitely the best when it comes to facing the bosses, but when it comes to the hordes, because he does have a shotgun and he needs to pause in order for him to kind of like reload the gun, it's not like a constant rapid fire. I do notice that sometimes with the enemy hordes that just that split second of his gun pausing between the shots really allows them to gain ground on you, and he can sometimes become very easily overwhelmed. Now, if you can keep your enemies at a distance while firing, you can, you know, dominate them pretty easily. But if there's so many on the screen and you're in a really tight area, they can overwhelm this character pretty easily. So
Sweet.
he has his pluses with his minuses, this character. So you see how his gun kind of pauses a little bit here and there. And that's what I mean, that just that little pause in between, sometimes when there's a lot of enemies on screen, he can really become overwhelmed just because of that little pause. And the closer you are to the enemy, the more damage you will cause.
Accelerate.
Just like any other shotgun in any other game, you want to be as close as possible. So this makes him a very close range character. But his shots are very powerful and they can take out multiple enemies. Now he is a very unique special move or secondary weapon. And that is this plasma field that he can lay. Just like this. And any enemies that are in the vicinity of this will continuously take damage along with your fire. So just like that, this enemy, as long as he's in that field of energy, he will keep taking damage. And I've noticed that becomes very useful when it comes to the bosses. That really does a lot of damage combined with his shotgun.
Battery up.
So you can see his secondary is quite powerful, but it does take a few moments for it to drain the life out of the enemies. It's not instant like some of the other characters. It does take a little bit of time, but as long as they stay within that field, they will drop. It just takes a few seconds.
Battery over here.
But the good thing is that it can take out multiple enemies at one time as long as they're in the field. It can take out quite a few.
Battery here. Shut down. Shut down. Battery up. Weapon max.
I knew that enemy had to drop the battery because I was really low on energy and there was no other enemy on the screen at that time, so I knew he had to drop it. So you can kind of see when there's a lot of enemies on screen, he can become overwhelmed. You can already see examples of that. But as long as you can keep the enemies at a distance, well, to a degree, because he does have a shotgun, you do have to be in close to a degree, but as long as you can keep him at a safe distance, you should be fine.
That was fun.
I thought I did worse than a D, to be honest. Alright, so again, I'm going to go to Android Select. We're going to do Starch.
Pineapple.
She's a really funny character. Now you'll see that she has a laser beam that she fires with. That is a continuous beam. And again, the closer you are to an enemy, the more damage she will cause. The further you are away, the less damage, but they will still take damage nonetheless. But you want to be a safe distance.
Circles. Battery here.
So as long as you press and hold the trigger, she will have this continuous beam. And this is her secondary. You can kind of see she has these tracker rockets that track the enemies.
Battery up.
Either tracker or rockets or tracking missiles, I should say. I'm saying rockets, but it's probably missiles. So her secondary move is very similar to Lemon's, only hers has more of a spray to it. There's more of it, where with Lemon's it's kind of just a straightforward firing of the rockets. Hers kind of spreads more. Starches kind of spreads more. And taking out the enemies, you know, so her, I would say hers is a little better. Starches is a little better than Lemon's. But again, that's a matter of opinion. Someone might be really good with Lemon and use their rockets just as effectively.
Battery here. Tiny robots. I'm so OP. Tiny robots, stay. Battery over here.
It's actually a good thing that it brought me there because I needed that battery, so it was actually a good thing.
Battery here.
So as you can see, sometimes it will get absolutely crazy in this game. And this is not the worst. There's even more to come. This is not the worst it gets. But you can see how pretty crazy it can be at times.
Everything's dead.
I'm surprised I got to be with her. I thought I did worse than that. I think this is the boss. Yep. So this is the second boss that you will encounter. She is quite powerful. And again, how they're interacting with one another is unique to each character. So what they're saying to one another is not what will be repeated to other characters. Each one will be different.
Establishing connection. Summoning.
Now, I have never fought this boss with this character before, so we'll see how I do.
Pop goes the weasel.
It seems like I must take care of matters personally.
Pretty wings.
Red paint is getting scratched.
Wow, she's actually not doing bad. Oh god. Yeah, I knew I was going to drop there. I had a feeling. My first knockdown of the level. So you can definitely see how much more powerful she is from the last boss. She is a lot stronger. A lot more tricky.
You're becoming a nuisance.
Battery over here.
Protect me.
And I have to say, out of all the bosses that you encounter, at least that I've seen so far, I don't think I've seen them all yet. But out of all the bosses I've seen so far, she's my favorite one. I really like this boss. All of them have very different personalities from one another, and how they interact with you will be different.
Tiny robot, stay.
Like their personality-wise. But I really like this boss. She's my favorite one.
My God.
So that was my first time ever using Starch against this character, and I actually beat her. I'm surprised.
Everything's dead.
Now I'm going to replay some of the other stages because I want to leave some of this as a surprise. I don't want to show the whole entire game because I don't want to spoil it. So I'm going to go back to stage selection, and as you can see, we are in a new section of the ship here if I keep going, but I'm going to go back because I want to leave some of it to be a surprise. I don't want to spoil it for people who get the game. I want some of the game to be a surprise for you guys, so I'm going to go back. Because again, I just want to do gameplay. I'm more about just showing the game off and showing how it plays rather than spoiling everything. I don't want to spoil everything about the game. I want it to be a surprise for new players. So we're going to go back to Android Select. And we're going to go to this character here.
Roger.
Now this character actually uses a drone as his main weapon, as well as his super. So he's very unique. He's probably the most unique and most different of all the characters. Because you see, he's not actually firing anything. It's his drone that is constantly attacking. And he is very unique on how you control it, because if you press and hold the trigger, the drone will go farther away from you. However, if you let go of the trigger, it will come back to you. So how close your enemies are gauges how long you have to hold down the trigger. So it's a very unique style of gameplay with him. Very different than all the others. Because all the others, you're usually just pressing and holding the trigger button, where this guy's going to take a lot more practice. He's definitely meant for more advanced players, because you're constantly going to have to gauge how long to hold the trigger down. So he's really for more experienced players. Like, I could never really use this guy and really do well with him.
Accelerate. Battery!
Yeah, I kind of figured that was going to happen. So this character is definitely more for experienced players, because you're constantly having to gauge the whole entire time how long you should hold the trigger down. Alright, we have Shiitake.
Okay.
She is a railgun. So again, she kind of pauses the way Coral does with his gun. But I think she has more range than Coral does. But she does pause, which again sometimes will allow the enemies to gang up on her, which can kind of overwhelm her at times.
Battery over here.
So I would say that she's definitely more for experienced players as well. Now she lays down these mines as her secondary.
Firepower.
And then as she lays them down, they will fly up and go a small distance towards the enemy to blow them up. But you want to lay them in a path where the enemies are approaching in order for them to work. So if enemy comes close to those, they will fly up and they will strike the enemy. But you want to make sure that you release them a certain distance near the enemy. So again, this character
Here.
I strongly recommend only for when you become more experienced with the game, because newcomers would find this character definitely more difficult to play with.
Accelerate. Battery sighted.
Now they are great characters. They're still very awesome characters, but it just has to match the person's play style.
Battery over here. Firepower. Battery sighted.
I'm actually going to let my energy... Oh, nope. Never mind. She got it. I was going to say I was going to let my energy drain there because I'm actually going to show off more of the androids, but she got it. She did not want to go down. Alright, now I'm going to let my energy drain. And you can see every time you rise, it kind of pushes the enemies away from you, giving you a little bit of a head start to be able to fire on them or to use your secondary. And then we have Peanut.
All right.
Now she uses a magma gun, and she uses also a kind of like a drill jouster, which kind of reminds me of the jousters that you use in Brawlhalla. If you know the fighting game Brawlhalla, the jouster weapons, her secondary move is very similar to that. You'll see what I mean if you're familiar with Brawlhalla. You'll see what I mean. So you see that she shoots out magma. And she has about a medium range gun. She's not strictly close, but she definitely can't go as far back as a lot of the other characters. She's definitely medium range with her firepower.
Accelerate.
I'm going to wait for a bigger enemy right here. Now see, that's the jouster move, and that can actually take out multiple enemies as well. So if there had been like 2 of the bigger robot guys there, then it would have definitely been able to take them out. And that's what I mean of how it reminds me of the Jouster weapon in Brawlhalla. Because a lot of them play very much the same.
Battery here.
And it's also a good way if you need to dash to get a battery. Like say she's really low on energy and she really needs one. And an enemy more in the back of the horde of enemies drops a battery. Then a good thing to do is to use the Jouster to actually dash to the battery. So in her case, sometimes it's good to actually use the Jouster other than just taking out bigger enemies. See how easily she can push the big guys back though? Like they're nothing. She is a very strong character. I would say that she's not necessarily for newcomers to the game. I would say be a little more experienced. She's probably, you don't need to be as experienced as say with Shiitake or Coral, but or that other android. I don't really know how to pronounce the name, but she's definitely, I would say, for somebody who's a little more experienced in the game as well. See how she plows through the enemies there. So while she doesn't require the most experience to play as her, I would say she's also not the easiest as well, but she is very powerful. Alright. And now I'm going to go to Android Selection. And now we're back to Cactus. So what's also funny is that when you select a character, all of them have their complete, unique, different personalities to them. So when you select a character, but then they're real happy about it, but then if you select and then go back fast enough, then you'll see that if you unselect them, that is, you'll see they are, some of them are relieved and others are disappointed that you changed your mind.
Sweet. What?
See?
Pineapple.
And she could care less, this one.
Roger. Oh.
Yeah, see how some of them are disappointed?
All right.
So that's pretty cool. I love all their unique individual personalities they have. And now I'm going to show you, we have leaderboards here. These are players that are like the top ranking players. Again, I don't see how that's really possible that they keep global scores if this is not an online game, but who knows. Collection is now the store. We have the codex, and as you unlock new characters, it will tell a brief biography about them. So this tells all about the characters that are unlocked. Here's an art gallery where you can purchase art for each character. So that's cool. We have concept art and illustrations here for the characters. So this was the illustration art that they had before she made it into the game. When they were first working on her design, this is what she looked like. Very similar to the end result here. So that's pretty cool. I love seeing concept art in games of what the characters were like before they actually were in the game. And then we also have guest artists. So you can buy art here. We have the EX options. Now this is the shop where you can buy various different things using your credits. Now right now I have 2,537 credits, and you can see the value for each one is listed. And you can buy a first-person camera, which means that you will get to see this in a first-person mode. You get to see it through the eyes of the androids, so you will just have all the enemy mobs just coming straight at you. Instead of seeing it from above, you will actually see them all coming straight at you, as the characters do. And that's really unique because in most shooters, and most like dual-stick shooters, I should say, you don't get that option. So that is a really unique option to this game. And a lot of people might prefer and have an easier time playing in that mode. I actually prefer viewing it from above and actually seeing my character rather than from a first-person perspective. But that varies from, player to player. If you're used to a game where, like, say, Apex, where you're playing in a first-person perspective, then, or Overwatch, so to speak, then I can see where this perspective might actually be better for your gameplay. We have classic camera, and then these are different filters that you can put in. So when you buy these, you will see the game mode. I haven't unlocked any of them yet because I was buying art, but you will view the game in different perspectives when you buy these. This here is no HUD, which I imagine that means removing the batteries. You can change the flow of the music. This is also really unique. I haven't purchased it yet, but the music is controlled by how many hordes of enemies there are. So I imagine the music probably gets much more faster pace with the more enemies that are on, so it becomes much more dramatic and much more faster pace rather than sounding more lax and more regular sounding the way it usually would if there's less enemies. So that's really unique. I love all of these different ways that you can customize the game. It's really cool. You can put on a normal size head. This one's pretty much for gags. It's pretty funny. You can actually put on a normal size head instead of their larger kind of head here. Now this one's really unique because you can have AI partners. So if you don't have anyone to play couch co-op with, you can select up to 4. Well, I think it's up to 3. I don't know if you can select all 4, but you can have up to 1 to 3 other androids assisting you, and they will serve as your partner as if you were playing with another person. So if you have nobody else to play with, but you want a partner to help you out in certain stages, like say you're learning the game and you want a little bit extra help, you can actually select an AI. They will select for you at random. You have no control over who they select for you. But I will demonstrate this because I will select for an android to assist me in a level. And then I will actually go to play and I will show you exactly what I mean. So I will just say select Cactus right off the bat. And now you can see I did not have any control over who they selected for me. But see, now I have this character here who will assist me in the stage. So I will go, I'm going to choose this stage here. And now you see that this character will act completely independent on their own. You do not control them in any way. They are completely independent.
Example. Shut down. No surprises there.
And this will serve as your partner in the stage. So that's really cool that they actually give you an AI that can assist you. If you have no one else to play with, but you need that little bit extra help. And again, you can have more than one. As you can see, the AI is much better with him than I am.
Shut down. Battery over here.
Which is to be expected. They can grab the batteries as well, which will charge up both your energy.
Accelerate. Weapon max. Battery up. Firepower.
Alright, so I'm going to back out of this. But I just wanted to show exactly what I meant. So it's pretty cool that you can actually have an AI partner to assist you with the levels. That's really cool. I like that a lot. That was a really nice touch. And again, you don't get that in a lot of other dual stick shooters. So that's unique. Let's see, what other things that I want to show here? We have a virtual player count, which is take on co-op enemy count of enemies. So in other words, you would get double the amount of enemies, and you just try to survive, and you would get them all by yourself. So you would get twice the amount of enemies if you had a partner with you, but you'd get them, and you got to face them all yourself, pretty much. Definitely not going to be doing that one. And then we have here, which I'm really excited to unlock this. This is Mega Weapons. And this is swap out your usual secondary equipment for a Mega Hardware. Now, I don't know exactly what that means because I haven't purchased it yet. And I haven't watched any gameplays of this yet because I didn't want to spoil it. So I'm really excited to unlock this and see if it actually changes the secondary weapon for the character or if it just enhances what they already have. I don't know what that means yet, what this is, how it's going to be, but I'm really excited to unlock this because there's a boss that I'm having a pretty hard time with, and I'm hoping that this will be able to turn the tides and me finally being able to defeat him. And I'm not going to discuss too much about him because, again, I want him to be a surprise later down the line for other players, but this is one of the most expensive items. So this is the shop. And a lot of cool stuff that you can buy in here. A lot of people would buy this right off the bat, but I did play this a little bit with my bro Micah. He joined me. He really likes the game as well. So I bought these other modes because this gave us the ability to play as the same character. Oh, this one here, duplicate characters, I should say. So we could play the same character here. And then we have Jukebox. And what this is it plays the soundtrack from the game. So you can pause it, and then you can select another one, and right here. Pause, go to the next one. So this really reminds me of older games where they actually included, like, all the games had soundtracks. You could listen to all the music of all the various different stages, and you really don't get that a lot in games anymore. A lot of games have great soundtracks, and sometimes you can purchase the soundtrack individually and listen to it. But I remember back in the day, like in the days of Sega Genesis and the older consoles, where all the games came standard with a soundtrack that you could listen to all the stages, and a lot of them had where you could listen to even all the sound effects and all the voice lines. A lot of games don't have that anymore, which is really sad. I really miss that in games. But what's really cool about this one is they bring that back. So you can pause it. And this game has a really great soundtrack. I really like it a lot. So I actually am going to listen to these songs all the way through and probably even have them as background music every now and then when, like, say I'm working, like doing something on the sidelines, like working on writing down some details for another video. Sometimes I'll be sitting here thinking of ideas and writing them down. And I could actually have this playing in the background because I really like this music. So I really like that they included this. So that is pretty cool, and I know I've said cool probably like 30-40 times already in this video, but that's just because I love this game so much, and there are so many cool things about it. There's no other way I could put it, other than they're fantastic, and I love so much about this. And then we have Sound Test, which is like the sound effects. We have Menu Select, Menu Back, Menu Advanced, Vault Collection, Battery Depleted. So this is very reminiscent of, like I said before, where you could hear the sound effects, and you could also hear, that came like standard with most games where you could hear the soundtrack and all the sound effects. Well, this game you can do that, and I really love that about it. It's really cool. Some of them are so low because of the music that I really can't hear them. The music kind of drowns out the sound effects. Speaking of which, let's see if I can silence the music. Oh, I can. Okay, good. So if you want to listen to the sound effects without the music, you can turn off the music. And then you can hear all the sound effects to each of the characters, all the bosses, all the menu selections. And this is, again, I miss this in a lot of games. Because sometimes it was really fun, like back on the Sega Genesis, and listening to different sound effects and different voice lines of the characters, and then the different sound effects of the different stages. They even have their footprints. I wonder when we're going to hear some voice lines. Again, some of these are so low, I can't really hear anything. Let's just go through. Wow, there is a lot. Over 100 so far. And we're still on sound effects. We haven't even hit voice lines yet. Wow, they have all the sound effects to all the different shooting sound effects. If certain kind of ammunition sounds a little different than another, even by just the slightest little bit, they include it. They have them all. But when are we going to get voice lines? Now we're almost up to 300 now. And we're still only on sound effects. Wow.
Missed the battery.
Oh, we finally made it.
I need power.
To voice lines.
This is what I do. Accelerate. Accelerate extended. Oof.
Oh, they have every single line they say.
Accelerate.
So I'm willing to bet they probably have it for the bosses as well.
Firepower. Try to keep up. Assault android Cactus.
Now that is really interesting that they put in every little detail of the sound effects. And the music, everything. That is just awesome. So there is so much about this game that I love. Definitely one of my top 5 favorite games. Took the place of Demon Crystals. I'm really surprised because I just got that game not long ago. And I like that one a lot. And yet this one has already taken that one's place. Don't get me wrong, Demon's Crystals is still a great game. But for a twin-stick shooter, this one is absolutely amazing. I love this game so much. Definitely going to be playing it a lot. I definitely want to keep increasing my scores to get better grades. I definitely want to get an S on all of them, get a perfect S rank on all of them. I definitely want to defeat the main campaign and defeat all the bosses, which I have not done yet. And I want to unlock everything that's in the shop. And I highly recommend this for anyone who loves dual-stick shooters. This is definitely a must-have. So is Demon's Crystals. I know I say I like this better than Demon Crystals, which I do, but I still highly recommend Demon's Crystals, which I'm still playing as well. Have not beaten that. That is the final stages on that one have gotten very, very, very challenging. Much harder than I expected. And I'm only 3 stages away from completing Demon's Crystals, but it has the difficulty has intensified so much that it is literally holding me off from completing the game, which I actually like. I'm not upset about it because I love a challenge, and it's definitely giving me that. And I'm only 3 stages away from completing that one. I'm not exactly sure how many more I have in this one to go, because again, I've only had this one for 2 days. But it's absolutely an amazing game. I can really tell the creators put a tremendous amount of work in it. I definitely hope this game gets a sequel in the future, and I hope that game is online where you can actually go into matches together with other online players and just go in and just have so many mobs of enemies coming at you. It would just be ridiculous. And just mowing them down with all different power-ups and all different weapons and some new secondary weapons. Because this game is so great, and I can't wait. I hope this one really gets a sequel. If it does, I will be so thrilled. But Wow, I can't believe the video has been over an hour already. I wasn't even watching the clock, but it's already been an hour. And I still feel like I've only scratched the surface of so much that this game has to offer. But I just wanted to give a quick review of everything and just, sum up everything as quick as possible. But I really hope you guys enjoyed the gameplay. And I hope you will definitely add this game to your collection. It only has about 600 reviews in the PlayStation shop, so not a lot of people even own this one. I mean, 600, when you're considering how many people have a PlayStation and, PlayStation 4. Originally, this started out as a PC game, and it came out in 2015, and then eventually it made its way to being a multi-platform. So it's available, obviously, on PS4. It is available on Nintendo Switch, and I do believe it's also available on Xbox as well. So it is multi-platform. Started out as a PC game, interestingly enough, and I would love to see this game get a sequel. And the good news I have for you guys, surprise, surprise, I was able to get an Xbox Series X today. It was a very lucky day. I've been searching for one ever since they came out, and I'm only just finding one now. So the struggle to find one is real, and I was lucky to find one today thanks to the help of my brother. My brother is actually the one who went online, and it was like hitting the lottery. He found one that was available, and I was able to get one. I am thrilled to death. So I'm actually going to be playing and streaming games and doing all different types of videos. I'm actually going to be doing some videos coming up that are not going to be video game based because, yes, this is mostly a video game channel. However, I'm going to be doing other videos like story times. I want to do reviews of movies and tech, and I want to mix up the channel as much as possible. I don't want it to just be just gaming alone. So gaming will always be the primary focus, but I do want to branch out, and I want to start doing other things. So my next few videos that will come will be like my top favorite movies, top favorite shows, where I will tell a little bit about each of them. I will tell like my favorite YouTubers. I have my favorite YouTubers list because I want to get their names out there. I think they're absolutely wonderful YouTubers, and I'm going to definitely have that list coming out. I'm going to have for sometime in October, I have some scary stories and paranormal things that have happened to me that I'm going to tell some stories, and I have a lot planned. I have so much planned for the channel. It's not just going to be always video games. I'm always going to try to keep it interesting and to keep it fun. And again, I thank you guys so much for tuning into the video. I really hope you enjoyed the gameplay. And yes, thanks to my brother, I was able to get an Xbox Series X. And I will be having a profile on that one that will also be called Eclipse Gaming something. It's may not going to be written out, my gamer tag, the same as this one, because somebody might already have that gamer tag on Xbox. I was fortunate enough that somebody didn't have it on PlayStation. But, I am going to have some gameplays on PlayStation as well as Xbox coming up in the not too distant future. But the gamer tag probably will be different than what I have on the PlayStation. So when I'm streaming, you will see that. And that's really all I have to say for now that I can think of that I wanted to mention. So again, for like the 4th or 5th time, I want to say thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the stream. If you're continuously watching my videos, a huge thank you. I can't thank you guys enough. For those that continue to keep visiting my channel, keep watching my videos. I really appreciate it. I really want to make this channel grow and really become a success, and I really want to make it fun for everyone who stumbles upon it, who stumbles upon my channel and keeps watching. I really want to make it fun, and I want to make it interesting, and I want to keep it entertaining. And to those who keep returning back and watching my videos, I really appreciate it. I can't thank you guys enough. I hope that you guys are enjoying it. And I will have a lot more planned coming in the future. All different kinds of videos will be coming in the future. Well, alright guys, I'm going to end the stream here. Just wanted to give an update on what I'm going to be doing on the channel and what I have coming up ahead in the future. And yeah, that pretty much sums it all up. So I hope you guys all have a great day, have a great night, and I will see you guys in the next video.